Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and you've tuned into another live edition of the Locker Room Daily Reporter, TLDR for short. Unlike yesterday, we had a lot of news today coming down the pike, coming through the pike, coming into the pike, or whatever preposition you care to use. Go ahead and translate the Arabesh. Looks like Mad Cat has done a successful job, given that I just swapped it. I'm only doing that because I'm trying to learn Arabesh. It's not a New Year's resolution, but it's just like one of those things that I want to be able to look at it and know, oh, it says this. I just want to know. I feel like I see it enough. I'm like, I need to do this. Like, it's not like learning like a spoken language or a written language. I mean, clearly I speak Galactic Basic, but when Arabesh shows up, I just want to be able to at least trip my way through the word, So I'm trying to write a different phrase every day in the live stream. Good evening, everybody. Hey, Phantom Printer, good to see you. I'm going to go ahead and begin today with the story that came out earlier. Actually, I it hit my radar like almost immediately after I got up and I was checking my social feeds. So this is what I feel is going to become a tentpole feature of Windows. And I don't say that lightly. Here's the news. Microsoft is releasing Copilot for Windows 11. And Copilot is basically their OpenAI integration with whatever they have. They may be integrating within like GitHub or an IDE or something that might be geared towards developers. But we're talking specifically on the desktop. The ability to talk to the desktop, to talk to your computer in a way that was only envisioned, like with Clippy or what was the dog from Microsoft, Bob or Cortana. Like these things look like toys, and Siri is going to look like not even a toy. Siri's going to look like a prototype compared to what this portends to be. So they're effectively making it such that, now this might not be exciting to you. Maybe you're going, well, Chris, why would I want to do that? Well, let's say you want to, I want to change my wallpaper to, something green, or I need to change the power settings, from high to low when this happens. What this will do, what quote unquote AI on the desktop will do, is allow you to do that without pushing you to a help article. It will either do it for you or give you an easier way to get it done. So this is, like I said, I feel this is a tentpole feature. Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
Can't use flagship. That's more for hardware. But it's. I think this is a big deal. I think this is a huge deal for Windows. I feel like it would be enough. For years and years, there was the now it's rather outmoded that the Mac is easier to use than Windows. And maybe at one time that was true. Maybe. Although I will say, over the years, I could see that, being the case. It certainly is a lot, less stressful to manage a Mac from my perspective than Windows today. But, when a novice user walks into Best Buy today, because that's, what they're still doing, and goes, I just want something easy. Oh, well, here's what you got to, here, look at this. All you have to do is ask it what you want it to do, and then it'll do it. And then they'll be like, wait a minute. So what you're saying is that all I have to do is type what I want, and the computer will do what it is that I'm asking, and I don't have to know where to click and what I need to do in order to do it? And the answer to that question with Windows Copilot is yes. This is, pardon my French, fucking huge.
Yeah, that's big.
Is gigantic. And this is not to be understated. And I shot my my view in fewer than 2. I knew as soon as I saw that this morning, I'm like, yeah, I got to do a quickie video on this today. And I did. I shot it before, starting this part of my day. And I ended with, like, if you're in customer support, your days are numbered. Because it's not that we won't need customer support when something breaks. Like, clearly, if the PC doesn't boot, right, you can't ask the PC what's wrong. Yet, maybe at some point, there'll be a chat GPT in the BIOS. Do not put it past anybody. Well, like, hey, what are the timings for this if I'm trying to do that and the other thing? Oh, you want it this, that, and the other thing. Oh, okay, cool. Like, I'm telling you, it's coming. So the idea that you could solve that problem yourself just by writing what it is that you're looking for. I mean, and I don't say this, I just don't say this about everything. Like, you can show me a smartphone that's, it's got, widgets on the front screen, and I'm not going to say it's a game changer, but this is a game changer. Like, it's just, it's such an easily accessible, easily understandable, readily done idea that it's just like, man, Microsoft needs to be making if they were going to do a campaign to get to drive people to Windows, that's it. That point blank, that's it. And if Apple comes out at WWDC and farts around with Siri and says, "Oh, now it's got this now you can, with more widgets, and now Siri integrates with Airbnb." Huh? Like, I'm just telling you, dude. If they don't have something to match what Microsoft is doing, and if they were going before, I'm like, we're not gonna. We're launching a headset. That's not. We're fine. We've been doing enough ML and AI on the back end that people will be fine. They won't. If they weren't worried before, if I was Tim Cook, remember Tim Cook isn't a product guy, but I was Tim Cook, I'd be losing sleep right now. I'd be losing sleep.
Assuming he doesn't have something in the works.
That's a huge assumption, but at this point, you don't think something will leak. So I feel that Apple can't. I don't know if Apple can necessarily afford to wait a year to roll something out that is anywhere near it. And Spotlight, as much as I like it, ain't it. What they're doing, macOS is farting around. They've been farting around for years. As far as I'm concerned, iOS has been farting around. Microsoft has been farting around, but for different reasons, right? Microsoft's been just trying to cram this interface and on top of that, but they're cleaning it up, right? They're streamlining. And I'm not a Windows, dyed-in-the-wool Windows user anymore. I'm like, there's too much cruft. I don't think I could run it as a native, a native I'll use it, but it's like, it's not my choice design-wise. It ain't pretty. But, ... how long will it be? How much more will it take before Microsoft is able to, effectively course correct and match what it's doing with, let's say, AI, right? Or OpenAI, and specifically, where most people would interface with it, right? Thank you, Skepta. Appreciate your support, and I appreciate when you stream in to the feed. It's always awesome to have you. So anyway, this is like, there's other news to cover here too, but I didn't want to bury the lead. Like, if you're not paying attention to how huge this is, I walk you through the scenario. Like, if my dad, how do I do this? Ask Windows, right? Just like I got him trained on just ask Google, ask Windows. Well, I want to do this, ask Windows. And pretty soon it'll be like, well, I want to make a formula that does this, this, and this, ask Excel. I want to do this, ask Word. Right? You don't have to go through intermediaries, right? You don't have to go to the web and search through, spam websites, to get things done. And Google, I'm not saying Google should be completely worried, but anybody who does anything in relation to tutorials or help or anything, your days are numbered, dude. Don't think you can't be replaced. AI could do your job today. That's just flat fact. In fact, I'd be surprised if there weren't AI-generated videos of just tutorials that just whip out, automated, scripts. I wouldn't know where to begin to do that, but I can almost guarantee they exist. But all that's just going to get ripped out from underneath. It's on the desktop. So anyway, I don't know how you feel about that after hearing the news, Toxic Doom or seen it, but man.
I'm kind of excited about it.
Wow.
It's going to be a huge change. And you kind of mentioned something. So as far as like using it as a tool, like if you want to change your wallpaper, you could use that with Bing and generate AI daily backgrounds, or even as a like a handicap assistant. Like if you couldn't use a keyboard and mouse, you could just talk to your computer now and just say, open this window and go to this website. Okay, here you go. Scroll down, do this. And you can just talk to it.
Well, you can do that now through assistive features. It kicks it up a notch.
Exactly.
It takes those accessibility features and makes them with NLP, right? Or basically, I'm going to word it the way a human being would word it, but the computer isn't going to throw back a syntax error.
Exactly.
Right?
It's going to be like a conversation.
Yeah, that's the paradigm shift. But yeah, you're on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the right track. Seen it? Because I know you got to have an opinion on this.
Oh yeah, I mean, no surprise that somebody was going to do it in their OS, and good for Microsoft for not being asleep at the wheel like they have been for so many things in the past. Seems to be they're ahead of the curve more than Apple when it comes to this stuff. Yeah, I just think, very much more like Star Trek type of things where you just ask computer and it's gonna be smart enough to, do what you need it to do just by asking it. Like, I mean, people are like, well, we have that now. No, we ask questions to like Google Home and stuff like that. That's just pulled. This is actually asking it to go out and do something, and it does it.
Yep.
Right.
Integrated.
Maybe this can be a petition to bring back Clippy. Use it as an AI tool.
I'm sure there's going to be an Easter egg somewhere that turns it into. I can almost guarantee.
Bring back Clippy.
But it was always the promise and potential of what that was that we're seeing effectively today realized to the just to the point where it's just like, wow.
People it might get a little mixed up with that, but that's the biggest thing, right? Is like right now when we talk to like Google or whatever, we're asking it a question, it's giving us an answer. Mm-hmm. The difference with this is that we're asking it to go out and do something, and it's going to go out and do it, right? It's like, hey, I need to. Can you edit up this video or whatever, or can you, whatever, and it's going to go and do it for you. Like, so there goes the job.
This video, right before I say the word beep, and after I say the word.
Yeah, and until coming up into these times now, we've had to kind of program that or script that or do whatever, right? There was all legwork for that. It's cutting out the human having to do it.
It's crazy.
So and the stuff I'm seeing leaking with it programming itself is just mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, making its code more efficient and everything. It's insane.
Oh yeah, and just like I need something, so it just spits it out, and then you can go ahead and massage it after. But it's getting smart enough. You're not even going to need to do that.
Yeah,
massage its own. Like say, I really. And that's the kind of stuff. If you watch Star Trek, that they were doing. It's like, okay, now try this, now try that, and then the computer will just keep doing all. They're not doing anything. They're just asking the computer to do stuff.
Yeah,
just basically giving it marching orders to go out and do. Mm-hmm.
That's how people would always want to have used their computers. And again, for the average person, this is bigger than.
There'd be no reason why anybody would ever, we're getting into that generation anyway. The baby boomers seem to be maybe the last of the generation that are really fearful of computers. Now there's lots of people that have all different skill levels of what they use. Like some people that all they ever use is a tablet or the phone, right? But that's computer anyway. But being able to just sit down and ask it to do stuff, and it runs out and does it, and knows how to do it and does it more efficiently and gets it back instantly. It's just. It's not asking Google to go turn my lights on right now or something like that. This is entirely different.
Yeah, or regurgitate
because I've heard a few people rumblings of people saying, "Well, we already have this. What big is this? Like I've already asked my, and said no. Mm-hmm. We programmed that task in behind the scenes or whatever when you're asking it to do something, or it's mostly asking information. I ask you a question, you give me an answer, right? But now it's like, can you just get up to I'll be getting up some morning and just saying, can you just run diagnostic on such and such server? I'll go do that. Can you bring up the logs and assess any, what I could just see myself just talking to my computer all day. That's what my job's going to be. And then they won't need me to talk to it anymore because it's going to know how to do it better than me. These are the iterations that it's going to go in, and it's going to go quickly.
Mm-hmm. So, it's going quickly now. It astounds me.
It's like these autonomous cars, right? They're robots that are learning. Like it's not like everybody thinks of it just being a car and all, like it's learning things, and it's in its own like network. So you have like, maybe let's say we get like 20,000 cars out there driving around, and they all start to learn and they talk about something. So okay, today I know where this bump is here in such and such a road. Now all cars know that, so they know how to go around it, like, and it just gets better and better, and so they just double what they learn. So it's like a human learning like 20. So even if each car that was driving for the day learned one new thing for the day, that's 20,000 new things. So it just like, it will get goddamn smart in a hurry.
Yeah, the data points are going to be enormous.
You know, after a day, like, oh my god.
you got self-driving cars today, right? In a way. So we'll pretend that they're a little bit more autonomous, like 5 years down the line. Traffic theoretically could be a thing of the past, because if you're driving during peak hours, you're all the cars are driving themselves. They can automatically switch lanes and say, we've got X amount of cars coming on, speed these lanes up, move these cars over. Everybody's traveling at the same rate of speed. You take the human error out of it.
The only thing that's always worried me about it, but AI seems to be gonna kind of get rid of that gap, was always the human instinct, right? I was worried about at first when they were doing all these autonomous cars, like, I'm driving down the road and I see a kid, he's way off over here kicking a ball, but I just got that gut feeling that he's going to run out in front. So I'm already slowing down. You know, before it was just like, to me, it's like all sensors. It's like, it's not going to really react until the sensor sees that kid is, you know, X amount of feet away from the curb, running at such and such a distance, and then start braking, right? I always felt like the human would have that gut instinct when driving to be better than the car. But now I don't know anymore. You know, with AI, I think they can get even smarter than us. So that probably is the gap. But it's just those type of things, like I say, with the autonomous cars and they're learning, and it's just like, but everything goes back up into the network, and they all learn it.
Yeah, it's reactive versus proactive. The AI can be proactive in learning things and anticipating things. Yeah, it'll be be interesting.
Our first form of learning, right, as a baby and a child is imitating, right? And you see that already, like robotics and stuff like that is getting darn close. So it's just you're seeing the smarts of it, but it's just like it's quick, because we have to, like, as humans, have to kind of repeat things over and over before it gets driven in, and depending on, you know, our learning abilities and that can be more or less for you know, how intelligent you are, or how much you pick up on it or whatever, right? But with a machine, once it learns it. It doesn't need to be told again.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to go through that again.
Right.
So yeah, having an operating system that's smart like that, I'm not surprised in the very least. Like, I was like, that's coming. And, you know, everybody knew that would come.
Apple needs to be rewriting its script for WWDC. That's all I'm saying. Like, if they don't, and this is not like Apple doesn't have a foldable phone, they suck. I'm like, this is not.
Well, who cares about foldable phones or goggles anymore, right? Like, if you're not getting on if you haven't gotten on this train now, oh boy, it's another one of those. You were asleep at the wheel.
What Apple? What are you doing? What is Apple's answer to OpenAI? What is their answer? And I don't just mean, oh, we're MLing in
big enough that their catch-up might be, let's go out and buy somebody, right?
And that may very well be the case.
That's probably what they're going to have to do now if they haven't been really fully invested in it.
Microsoft had to pull out all stops to get what we saw today as quickly as it's been turned around. Dude, Apple's got to figure out what they're going to do, because if Apple does not have something nearly as intuitive as what was just shown, like, it's like Apple's just it's a toy. They're going to be relegated to being a toy. Like, not that I couldn't take it seriously. I mean, that's like when people have to interact with their systems, they want to interact with the systems as naturally as they possibly can. And mind you, Siri it's not that Siri was ahead of the game, or it might have been ahead of the game 10 years ago, but like, this isn't 10 years ago, it's 10 years today, right? So yeah, I would be curious,
and it was the whole thing that it could recognize your voice and kind of know what you asked, and go ahead and give you an answer. I can't reiterate this enough to people, that because I've heard enough people saying, well, we have Siri, we have Google, we have that, we already talk to our computers. No. Like I can't stress it enough that this is it going off and doing what you tell it to do. We have not had that before.
Nope, not even close.
And if you've seen that there's a lot of that behind the scenes. Just because I've asked Google to turn my lights on, that's all programmed behind the scenes. It's not that it was smart to do that.
Right.
So, someone's wrote code that's done that, right? We're asking it to just do tasks, and just like, I need like a 10-second clip video, and I need it to, whatever levels, it'll just go do it. Whatever you ask it, it's just going to do it.
Even your
like
smart home
to a human and giving them something to do, and then they come back and give you the product. But
even your smart home can just become actually smart now. So if you just set your alarm on your phone, and you're let's say 8 a.m. is your alarm, you get up at 8, and you could have your coffee maker that's connected to your Wi-Fi kick on. It's reactive to what you're doing versus you asking it to do it at a certain time.
See, that's where I don't want things connected. I'm still very much into segmentation at that point. Like, maybe I'm more of a maybe more conservative on that front, if only because I've seen where things can go awry, and I got to spend enough time troubleshooting this, that, and the other thing. The fewer things I have to troubleshoot, the happier I am.
I tell you, we need to get her as the worry is that we don't have her act in order with a lot of things, and that's been obvious and has been amplified like 1,000 times over during COVID and everything else, right? And we're playing with some massively big toys right now. So the worry is about like going so fast, no regulations around this. And I don't know, like it's I think we're going to run into problems. And then like things like, when I talked about, how we have like deep fake videos now and like what's real and what isn't, right? And like something might be put out, a night before election day, and and that video before the election started, and no one really knows that the video was real or not, and all that sort of stuff. I think at that point you're going to instantly get into like an arms race, right? There's going to be people that are going to be catching up and trying to program stuff to be able to detect that, and then there'll be other things that'll come out to try to combat that.
And that's happening now in a limited sense. Like I remember
it's gonna skyrocket.
Well, my parents said, I can't remember what it was. I had to do something downtown Seattle, and they were like, well, good, they were concerned for my safety. I'm like, what are you talking about? They're worried because of, I guess, there is a certain news organization that's more entertainment that has been fueling their fear to make them believe that downtown Seattle is a war zone. And I'm like,
what?
It isn't. Like, it's the same as it's always been. Like, this is not. So news does that now, even without, or they'll take something and conflate it into fear mongering, right? Because the fear is what sells.
Yeah,
it ain't the truth anymore. It's fear.
But look at it in the, it's not been that long that we've actually had like video evidence be something for convictions in the criminal justice system. And now when you can't rely even on that, that's going to take us a few steps back, unfortunately.
Well, people trust the news, and they have to stop trusting the news. Yeah. And I mean, verify.
I'm talking mainstream as well, right? You got to take a grain of salt with a lot of stuff.
Or
right?
verify, or go to a variety of sources that don't just skew to your proclivities, right? Like, what you've got to listen, you've got to apply critical, thinking, right? You've got to reason through it. You got to read different opinions, look at different opinions, and it's not from the same network, from different places, and not just the same media. Different places, different voices, because without doing that, you're just, you are suckling at the teat of the ad spigot, and all they're doing is just doing everything they can to keep your dopamine levels at an all-time high. Press that button, press that button, press that button for to get that feedback. You're gonna die unless you watch us. And that's it's honestly.
Oh, I know.
It's
stay tuned. More at 11.
It's pathetic.
More news at 11.
Yeah, well, come back, come watch us again.
Yeah.
Well, and also be like, a lot of these, like even mainstream media is run by large corporations. It's like, do you not think you're going to get the spin that they're far left or they're far right or whatever, right? So it's.
Sorry, I just clicked on a link apparently native RAR support is coming to the Windows desktop.
Oh,
About
interesting.
time.
Yeah. So
Huh.
so I was reading the headlines as they were coming through here on
How
on
many
the
years
video.
now has RAR been
Yeah.
out, and they just
Poor WinRAR is selling 100 licenses a year, and now they're not going to sell any.
Yeah. But that actually,
Like-
that's really good to know. I'm not sure if Mac OS has. I think it's.
I
got
loved
hacks
when
built in.
you didn't have to use WinZip anymore and it was native. That was
Oh my
nice.
god, I didn't.
Mhm.
I haven't installed WinZip in.
And for a tech,
decade.
ISO is nice, you know, because I'm always mounting ISOs and whatever else for installations and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So that's nice that you can actually mount that too. It's like the Linux had that forever, and now Windows finally did it.
There's a new Google Bard has rolled out, I believe, image generation as well.
Mm.
I heard about that. I
Photoshop
didn't
rolled
know.
out edit images with text. Like, you know, do this.
What are we all here for now?
That's I asked this question a month ago. Like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Like, what good am I? What value can I bring, you know, to the table that isn't going to be supplanted or just all out replaced by any of this stuff? So yeah, I'm
How it like
baffled.
that's the problem. Like moving so fast, it's like no one's even thinking about how we're gonna cope. How are we gonna cope with this?
We're going to get to the point where again, rich are going to get richer, poor are going to get poorer, middle class is all but wiped
Already
out.
been diminishing, and it's bad.
And you're going to have no jobs, and the jobs that are there aren't necessarily going to pay enough to have a quote unquote living wage. I mean, we're there now. We're there now. Effectively, for a wide swath of people, we're there now.
Yeah.
And that's getting worse. That's
Yeah.
not. There's no improvement, none whatsoever. So the future is FUBAR, and there's been no plan to laid out to get us from where we are to where we need to be. And with no plan there, we've got these interrupts stepping in and provide and yielding even more disruption when we didn't already have a plan to get from where we are, which is in a disastrous situation, to where we need to be. So, like I said, it's going to get worse. And I'm not going to say it's going to get worse before it gets better, because I don't know if it's going to get better. I can't make that nobody on this planet can make that promise, but I can
Just don't
promise you
know.
this. And this isn't, me, grumpy old man, back in my day, sitting, on this porch.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse, dude. It is absolutely getting worse. And forget, you thinking, well, I'm okay, because no, you're not. You just don't see it yet. You don't realize you got half your canoe, over the waterfall, and you don't realize it yet, right? It's just not. It ain't going to take much for a one tweak or one change. Let's say it's at the government level, making one tweak to a policy, and then all hell breaks loose.
And what an awful time where our governments worldwide are at an all-time bullshit. Excuse my language, just bull, right? Like, why is it that when you're looking at the news, every developed country has such a big problem with the governments anymore, right? And all this, and it's like, that's what I'm saying is, like, all this is happening and we don't have our act together, and these big toys are here, and they don't, not even any interest in trying to
And the people in office,
things around it.
People in office don't even keep up with what they're representing, which doesn't help too. I mean, you ask them the in-depth parts of certain technology pieces that they're presenting bills on, and they're like, I don't know.
They won't know.
I don't know.
These
Nobody
days,
reads it.
any more bills are going to be written by, and I'm using this term generically, right? ChatGPT. Like, for all intents and purposes, like ChatGPT is like the Kleenex of AI. Like, when we're talking about like the scripts, horrible name. Like, it's such a mouthful. ChatGPT. What is it? Generative. What is GPT? Generative.
Oh.
Predicted technology. What is GPT? Hang on.
I don't know. I think I looked it up once.
Yeah, generative pre-trained transform. It's a transformer. Yeah. That's what it is. I knew it was generative. So these large language models are going to just continue to get tapped and used in ways that we may not be directly impacted by, but we are indirectly impacted, positively or negatively. Even if you're like, well, I don't believe, well, you don't need to believe in it, right? Well, I don't use it. You don't necessarily need to use it for you to be impacted by it. You don't. So jobs are going to continue to be a problem, because when you've got, a job that anybody can do, or you can't afford another position because you barely have enough to scrape by because you don't have enough customers, because the companies that are out there aren't paying employees, or they don't have enough employees, or we're in trouble. And you can't just say, well, you should go work for Starbucks. Starbucks is going to replace people. McDonald's, they're going to replace people. I'd go as far as saying, I'm guessing at some point, entities like Walmart and Target and all them will figure out how to continue to replace people. You see them tilting into that now with self-checkout. Now, granted, they can lose money on that, but there's a reason they lean heavily into that. And the reason they're leaning heavily into that is because it reduces the need for them to hire people, which increases profit margins. And it's not even it's like, well, we made $1 billion last year. What can we do to make even more this year? And there's only so much you can do. There's only so much without cutting people out. There's only so much you can do.
And even at the self-checkout, to your point, like there's still people that have to assist, do ID checks and everything. A local store chain near me, it's a tri-state local chain called Meijer. They have this through their app. You do your shopping, but you're scanning everything. Similar to like what Amazon tried. You're scanning everything, throwing it into your bag. You go up, you just scan your QR code, brings everything up. It might have somebody come by if you have a large order and just like randomly scan 2 or 3 items to validate it's all in your basket. And you pay and you leave. You do that with produce. You weigh it and they give you a tag and you go throw it in your cart and it's already paid for and rung up. But even at that point, you don't even have to have the staff to even monitor all those use scans anymore.
That's what I'm saying.
So
you don't need as many people, just like CNOOP, right? Whereas your team might have had 5 people on it before. Well, when efficiency has been peak, right? Instead of requiring, those 5 people, you only need 2, let's say, right? One fail safe, right? So you're releasing, or you're eliminating overhead, you're maximizing profit, and you're minimizing costs, right? And at the same time, those costs very much are people. So if the people are replaced here, they can't get a job anywhere. Where are they going to go? How are they going to make money? How are they going to make ends meet? How are they going to do it? I mean, I wrestle with that problem now. I'm like, I've got a plan. I'm going to try to figure out what I'm going to do to be able to pay the bills. And as much as I'm very grateful for subs and tips and everything that we're doing here and on MakerDeck, it ain't going to be. That's not enough. It will not work. If I was if I had different circumstances, for sure. If I didn't have to support a family of 3 and didn't have to worry about insurance and didn't have to worry about food, and all that other stuff, it would be a completely different story. But that's still, it's still something that, it weighs heavily on me on an increasing basis. It's a concern. I mean, I know we kind of inevitably come back to this part of the conversation, but every time they release something that's just that, again, think about how many companies out there exist to provide customer service, or how many companies out there exist to do tech support. How many individuals get paid to do tech support? Okay, I mean, maybe that's a growing market, maybe, but for hardware, possibly. Although CNUP made this point earlier, not today, but in an earlier broadcast, saying that's something that people will just buy new, right? You said that instead of repairing, I swear to God, it was you.
Yep.
You said instead of repairing,
absolutely.
just go and buy new.
Yep.
So again, where are you getting paid? When AI replaces you, how are you going to get paid? How are you going to do it? I don't have an answer to that question. That's powerful stuff. I mean, there's not obviously the creative markets, the creators, and I think the creators, marketers, anybody who they've got a skill and they've got a talent, but when ChatGPT works well enough, you know, this is being battled in Hollywood right now, right? You've got writers doing a strike now. I guess actors also doing a strike, basically saying, yeah, you can't replace us. And Hollywood is going to try to figure out how to do it. Now, the question is whether or not what Hollywood produces, quote unquote, with ChatGPT, that works well enough. Does it work, or will it work well enough? And that's, I mean, of course, that remains to be seen. But,
and the other thing here is that their user base is just the general population. Well, it's everyone, right? Everybody goes with entertainment. But when you have, you know, 3/4 of your population that's hurting for money because they're jobless or whatever, what's usually the first thing that gets kicked off your list? Over food and water and everything else. Entertainment is the first thing that gets cut on. You know, anytime I've had hard times or whatever, the first thing is what don't I need? And it's like, well, these entertainment things I really don't need.
That's why I nuked YouTube TV. That's like, all right, well, that saves $1,000 a year.
It's just funny that, like, and this is why, like I said, we don't have our act together with it. And even these big companies, they all have the mindset that they want to be first. So they're just, you know, plowing down the road, but nobody's asking just because we can, should we, or you know, what kind of stuff should we have in place to have some governance around it, and, you know, these sort of things, so that we're not doing our own undoing. So I'm seeing nothing of that. So I think we're going to run into some really hard times, and only then will. And it'll have to be like worldwide. You know, at least you can't have one country saying, yeah, we're having these limitations and another one not, because then it just won't work. So I don't know how, but it's bothersome that it just doesn't seem like no one's even just go to it. Let's see where we can go with this. See where it takes us. That's a big toy to play with without having any caution.
No rules, so just turn it on and see what you can do with it.
It's like giving you a new car that goes like 500 miles an hour. Just put your foot to the floor and see where it takes you.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
Spotify is developing AI tools trained on its hosts' voices to create targeted ads. So again, all these ad agencies, these graphic designers, these you know voice talent, like. Creators are getting, I'm telling you, creators are going to get screwed.
It's all of us.
They're going to get screwed. I'd argue they've been screwed already, but like, this is like, and I mean, like, the people who do Photoshop work or After Effects or any one of these things, you know, they just become that much more accessible and simple, you know, it's just incredibly disruptive. Incredibly. There are, so by the way, on that RAR front, it's going to have native support, or it does have now, native support for RAR, 7-zip, GZ. So I'm pretty sure Mac OS has had GZ. I'm not sure about RAR. I haven't downloaded a RAR file in ages, eons. I don't download anymore, really.
Just
Netflix.
Upload.
Go ahead.
Just upload. You don't download anymore. Just
right.
Upload.
Pretty much. Netflix cracks down on password sharing in the U.S. Offers paid sharing, which lets account holders add an extra member outside the household for $7.99 a month. Which I guess is kind of cheaper, because you can do an ad-based Netflix for $7 a month, or like no ads, I think, for 10. And so we downgraded, went from 15 to 10, because again, we're not getting anything out of it. But I make sure that we're not sharing outside this house, because the last thing I want to get is an account nuked. Samsung unveiled a next-gen smart monitor, M8, with an iMac-like design, USB-C AirPlay, and webcam. So like a smart monitor, that's like a monitor, like a screen, like your display. So it's got AirPlay built in. I believe it already supported Chromecast. I mean, it's got Android TV, or some of them had Android TV built in. Oh, by the way, GitHub Copilot is also going to bring AI to Windows Terminal. So it's going everywhere. Flipboard is going to start working with or interoperating with Blue Sky and PixelFed. So I don't know if that means that includes Mastodon or just the Blue Sky underlying protocol, which is a big deal. I mean, I don't use Flipboard anymore. I really liked it early on, but then just stopped using it. I don't use as many news apps as I used to. I've got I installed. I mean, I usually am pretty taken care of when I scan through social, but sometimes if I got a few minutes to kill. Artifact is an app that I've used on Android. It's also on iOS. That kind of gives me a zeitgeist. It's not perfect. It's not great, but there have been articles that I've picked up here that I haven't picked up anywhere else, which is nice. But Flipboard is has been a long standing. It's actually, I really like the because you flip the pages in Flipboard. It is pretty neat. I just haven't used it in the longest freaking time. If you've even heard about it.
I've never used Flipboard.
It's neat if you needed a news app. And I have I had uninstalled so many news apps because I was like, it would not open the news in my browser, the browser that I choose that has ad blocking. Instead, it would use like an internal browser, like Google News uses an internal browser. Well, the nice thing about using it now, and the only reason I use it now, is not because necessarily of the headlines, but because I've got ad blocking network wide. So it's like, okay, well, then I can just open it up in the Chrome thing, and it's not going to load this, that, and it'll load some shit. I'm sure some shit else is going to sneak through, but not like everything. So it's actually made it a little more usable in that sense. You're gonna love this. Not to get political, but if there was any doubt in anybody's mind, Ron DeSantis is going to launch his presidential bid with Elon Musk on Twitter in a Twitter space.
I saw that.
Good luck, Ron, with that bid. I look forward to the disruption, because that is going to be incredibly disruptive. And I don't just mean because, okay, politically speaking, I'm not in the guy's camp. But it is disruptive because of everything else that might be going on. And it doesn't mean that, he's doing Twitter Spaces is awesome. It's like, there's some contention on that side of the political persuasion. So any kind of disruption I see is good disruption. Let it disrupt yourself, okay? I don't want to sit back and watch what happens. I've seen what he's done with Disney, billion-dollar mistake after mistake. I'm like, okay, you do you. If who am I at this point? Who am I? I have no say in it. I don't have a chance to vote for or against at this stage. I'm in Washington state, not Florida. But even in even if it gets to a primary, I don't think that's how it works. Or maybe it is. Maybe I do have a chance. I'm a little fuzzy on those rules for primaries, because it used to be you could only vote for the party of your choosing. But Washington State, I don't even think you don't have to declare your party. I think you used to. But they've changed the rules so many times. I'm like, I don't know. You just give me the ballot. Show me I circle this. Say, okay, great. I'll just do that. Done. But he's going to be doing it on Spaces. So it's just interesting that Elon's cozying up on that side of things. I'd be curious to know if any, I don't know if any of the liberal side, maybe independents might launch on Twitter as well. But Twitter, with Elon's takeover, has definitely skewed a little more right-wing than it might have in recent years, which if it's constructive, I have no problem with. Like when it's actual constructiveness, I'm fine with it. When it gets into the far extreme aspects of things, I'm just like, yeah, I'm good. This is not what I don't need Nazis in my feed. I'm good. I'm fine. and quite honestly, I'll tell you, a lot of the now blue badges, they're just trash I'm not saying everybody who's got the blue badge. It's not, because like I have no problem with it. I keep waiting for an opportunity. I'm just saying that now many of them are gunking up comments on Twitter. It's just gunk. It's gunk. And this again, hey, I am not judging. And the reason why I cannot judge is because I would have no problem paying for it if it offered something of value to me. And today it does not. So I'm not going to piss in anybody else's Cheerios. The only observation, again, is they're garbage replies. By and large, garbage replies. It's and because Twitter has the algorithm where it elevates a quote unquote let's call them blue badge, then the most garbage replies float to the top. Like, was that the idea? Like, I still feel like Elon, you could take every reasonable action on any item and flip it 180, and that's exactly what Elon's done. Like, if you wanted to screw things up, do exactly what he's doing. If you want to dirty the water, do exactly what he's doing. So I just can't, and maybe that's what needed to be done from his perspective, but I don't think the guy's a genius. I think he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. And I think people think he's smart because he's rich. And I wish people would get over the idea that just because someone's rich means they're smart. It doesn't. Maybe they were smart and were in the right place at the right time. That doesn't mean that. But just because you've got money doesn't mean you're intelligent. I know a lot of smart people.
And he might be smart in one area. It doesn't mean he's smart everywhere.
Everywhere, right? And I just think
and that's kind of what he's trying to do everywhere, right?
Right. It's the equating oh, you make money, therefore you're a genius, or you have a lot of money, therefore you're a genius. Like, yeah, I don't subscribe to that personally. Final Cut Pro is out for iPad. I have not used it. I have no plans on using it. I like Final Cut Pro on the desktop. On the Mac, I'm more than fine with it. If I did carry an iPad still, I probably would get it. Possibly, but there's never really been a situation where I'm like, I need to edit a video so like immediately, and I need to use the iPad. I've always.
They thought that was a need. Like, a lot of people are asking for that.
Oh, they've been asking for that for years.
People want to do it on their iPad.
Well, it's got the processor, right? It's got an M1 chip in it. It's got the power. That's not the problem. It's the iPad's portability. So if you wanted something that you just didn't want to lug around the laptop,
I get it.
And you didn't want to have to wait till you got back home, that I feel is where it's
that might be
that's the spot.
A good tool that maybe the film industry's been waiting for or something too, right?
Possibly. Although I think the film industry uses, I mean, maybe they use Final Cut Pro. I did not believe they did though. I didn't think they used Final Cut Pro. I'm pretty sure.
Or maybe not film, but maybe, I don't know, other agencies that did like do commercials or something like that, something a little low end. Who knows?
I'm not a power video editor. Anything I can do, I'm going to be mostly in and around my desktop, or I will do something on mobile. I use LumaFusion on Android. There's an iOS version of that as well. Although I don't think they're bringing Final Cut Pro to the iPhone. Just to the iPad, and they also brought Logic Pro as well.
Yeah, how would you even do that with the real estate of an iPhone anyway?
You can do it. I edit video in a pinch, like I do it on the phone. Like it's just easy.
But like, when I think Final Cut, I think of like a whole lot of options in front of you, not just some simplistic video editing. So
this is interesting. Conboard, an open source Kanban. Yeah, interesting. Conboard.org, open source Kanban. I use Trello for that kind of thing now. There's another thing. Microsoft, I think, and maybe this has happened already, but they are rolling out even more support for Android on Windows. Now supporting like Android, or if not now, then soon, Android 13 as their target, which is again, I kind of wish I used Windows for that, because like Windows is getting better. I will say Windows is getting better at a more rapid pace than Mac OS is. Like huge, like these are huge advances. Huge.
If they can get their UI cleaned up in their next big version, then I think it.
And that's the thing.
Might interest people again.
If they do, I'm just saying.
I think that's where they should be.
Yeah, I would be in play.
Hiring people. Like, let's get this done, people. Because that promise of doing it with Windows 10 didn't happen.
I would be in play. And I worry though, because Windows is obviously a different set of nightmares. But at the same time, if it's closer to what I might be using, if it's a better experience, and at this point I feel Mac OS is no longer it's still leading in my mind in terms of like cohesiveness for the most part, but Apple's been resting on their laurels, and if they don't, to kind of come full circle, if they do not address the Chat GPT elephant in the room, the OpenAI elephant in the room, the AI, whatever you want to call it, at this WWDC, I do kind of have a feeling that if they don't announce anything at this event, they'll have another event where they're gonna say, now we're like not a bonus exactly, but that they are working on something, because they have shareholders too, right? Like or the next iteration of Mac OS will have those types of features in Apple's style, right? Hey, keep calling it Siri, I don't give a shit. Just swap out the underpinnings, dude. You gotta kill it. It ain't the golden goose, dude. It's a laughing stock. So, yeah. I don't have. I mean, I may have seen other news here, but if y'all have anything else to talk about, Glennon's not here to talk deals, but those are the big things on today's radar for me. Huge.
Yeah, it's big news. I don't have anything else to add though, and I was just skimming the deals. It doesn't look like there were any posted.
No,
anyway, so.
There haven't been copious amounts of deals. I mean, I'm sure they're there, but just finding them.
Yeah.